Hey, a week or so ago, I talked about step one. Hi, I hope you're well, by the way. Talked about step one, talked about in the wake of specifically the election, that step one was to just let yourself feel, to be with it, to be with what's coming up for you. I've had it in my head, as a lot of people have. Okay, well, what's step two? What do we do next? What comes next? And the more I've thought about it, the more I've realized it has less to do with the election. So if by some miracle you're on my list here and we're not politically aligned, first off, thank you. Reach out to me because you're an inspiration that you've stuck with me as I have been voicing where I'm at. But let's look at step two. And I'm going to see what comes up for me here because I've gone so many different ways about how to express this. But I think it's this simple. I think what's called for next, in a nutshell, is to get back on that hula hoop. I'm gesturing over here. Stay in that hula hoop that I talked about. Stay in the hula hoop. Stay in your own energy. Stay where you are. And get curious. There's been elements of Stoic wisdom that have been coming up for me and through some of the people that I follow that are Stoic teachers. And if you're not familiar with Stoicism, it's not what I guess grew up thinking about. Sort of the Americanized notion of Stoicism is that Stoicism is about being cold. It's not what it's about. Stoicism is more about returning to where your power lives, where your true influence lives. As Epictetus puts it, I'm not disturbed by things, but by the view I take of them. It's not the thing itself, but the view I'm taking of it, which isn't to say that there aren't some things that are bad or good in terms of their real world expression, but that my experience of it's happening in here. The reason that's important in this moment is another thing Stoics talk about is some version of no matter what's happening out there, what is mine to do doesn't change. Fundamentally, what is mine to do is to be doing good, to be showing up in the world and living as in the Stoic philosophy sort of context of living a virtuous life, of doing good in the world, of being of value in the world. That hasn't changed. That hasn't changed in this moment. So I'm not trying to rush you through what you're feeling. Feel what you're feeling. And I would encourage you to feel if you're feeling sad or outraged or what have you. Those things are pointing to what you care about. And when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. But what that looks like is very specific, regardless of who you voted for. The next question from a place of curiosity is, what is mine to do within my sphere of influence? What does it look like for me to move forward in a way that is continuing to do good, to be good in the world? Not that there aren't times that we have been called upon and will be called upon again to protest or push back in a way that is of this world. But even that comes from what is mine to do in this moment. How in this moment can I show up and do good? To behave in a virtuous fashion, to represent the values that I believe are important. Put it two other ways, and then I'll stop talking. You can also ask, what would love do? That tends to be a really good guide for me in any given moment, in any given conversation. What would love do here? And what comes up? Listening more deeply, getting curious. If that doesn't work, what would Ted Lasso do? How would Ted Lasso find his way back to believing? Step two. Get really curious in the only place in which you have power, inside that hula hoop. Get really curious and ask, with a willingness to listen, what is mine to do? Or what would love do? Or what would Ted Lasso do? I hope that's useful. So many things on my mind, so many songs on my mind. But today, that's just what I wanted to share. Be so very good to you. Bye now.